Item number SCP-5201. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Domesticated SCP-5201 instances are currently contained in the Fauna Containment Wing of Site-235. Due to incidents of cannibalization within specimens, no more than one SCP-5201 instance is to be contained per containment cell. Each specimen is to be fed with one newborn mammal with a mass of at least 1 kilogram on a weekly or bi-monthly basis. Piglets are the most cost-effective and available such animals, but other species may be substituted as deemed necessary. The following objects have been identified to cause serious or fatal harm on SCP-5201. Abrahamic holy objects, spices, i.e. salt, garlic, and vinegar, sharpened bamboo, whips created from the tail of stingrays, betel nut chew, urine. All entrances to SCP-5201 containment cells are to be guarded by at least 2 Level 2 personnel equipped with at least one object mentioned above. Since the effectiveness of these objects depend upon the individual's religious background or cultural knowledge, moderate psychological screening and seminars must be conducted first before assigning any personnel. A specialized portable retinal scanner has been developed to identify SCP-5201 instances in the wild or among human groups in case of a containment breach, capable of immediately identifying retinal irregularities that have been known to be a trait of SCP-5201. The severed lower torso of SCP-5201 instances can be retrieved for research and domestication or must be disabled for reproduction through sprinkling salt, smearing crushed garlic or ash on the top. Description: SCP-5201 is an endemic and carnivorous subspecies of Homo sapiens that have inhabited the Philippines, known in local folklore and myths as the Manananggal. SCP-5201 was initially discovered during the 1500s by Foundation operatives embedded within the Spanish colonization parties. The Supernatural Committee of the Philippines declared SCP-5201 to be extinct in the wild in late April 1997. Instances of SCP-5201 have been observed to exhibit a variety of anomalous abilities and characteristics, including full-body autonomy or the ability to segment itself, leaving behind its body from the waist downwards, cellular transmogrification as an adaptation to blend with and infiltrate rural communities, additional appendages such as interfemoral membranous wings for flight and tentacle-like organs for defense, possession of an incredibly long and prehensile tongue capable of reaching lengths up to 20 meters. SCP-5201 was the only known natural aphotic parthenogenic mammalian species. Footnote 1. Aphotic parthenogenic organisms are organisms whose females are able to asexually reproduce via anomalous means. SCP-5201 asexually reproduced between the 15th to 20th autotomic stage, during which the lower body regenerates its own upper torso via a process similar to epimorphic regeneration. Footnote 2. Epimorphosis is defined as the regeneration of a specific part of an organism in a way that involves extensive cell proliferation of somatic stem cells, de-differentiation, and reformation, as well as blastema formation, observed in autotomous lizards. Footnote 3. Autotomy, or self-amputation, is the behavior whereby an animal sheds or discards one or more of its own appendages, usually as a self-defense mechanism to elude a predator's grasp or to distract the predator and thereby allow escape. The severed upper torso of an SCP-5201 would then search for a compatible female human to consume and eventually attach itself to, repeat the cycle. History. The first recorded mention of SCP-5201 was by Spanish sailors in 1512. Between 1600 and 1900, SCP-5201 was hunted by various groups of interests and other anomalous subhuman species also thriving at the time in the Philippines. Genetic testing from subfossil remains indicates that SCP-5201 is itself an invasive species to the Philippines, as determined using cross-DNA testing from SCP-8871 and SCP-6993, which are also believed to be endemic with the country. The exact origin of SCP-5201 is unknown. SCP-5201 achieved notorious and widespread recognition from Foundation researchers after some observed weaponization of domesticated instances during the Philippine-Shan War. Soon after that, Mobile Task Force Theta-4, Folk Hunters, was formed to capture instances of SCP-5201, SCP-8871, and other anomalous subhuman species within the Philippines for Foundation research. Site-144 has historically carried out unethical experimentation on indigenous populations of SCP-5201 to see how they experienced pain, and bodily fluids and internal organs were forcibly taken from juveniles. These experiments caused political conflict between the Supernatural Committee of the Philippines and the SCP Foundation, and a large number of early Foundation outposts from the country were decommissioned as a result. Auxiliary Document 5201-01 Letter to Director Verge 01 To Site-235 Director Verge. Our research team from Outpost Theta-8 at Capiz has been detained by people claiming to be officials from the Supernatural Committee. Even though most of our resources have been confiscated and our captive specimens released, these people have been friendly. Their leader, Paul Ortiz, was just asking how we were able to operate so effectively without getting killed by these creatures. I've explained that we're an organization similar to their committee, containing the anomalous, with the exception of operating at greater scope and age. Anyway, they're asking for 45,000 pesos to compensate for all the damages that we've apparently caused on the indigenous populations of these creatures. Please send us money so we can continue our research here. Regards, Researcher Ray, August 6, 1596. Auxiliary Document 5201-02 Letter to Director Verge 02 To Site-235 Director Verge. My research team is coming home now. Apparently, Site-144 Director Zyka has been harvesting these creatures and selling them to the Carter Club. No wonder all of the Foundation sites here in Southeast Asia, they seem to be so well funded despite the cuts. I can barely get a Delta scanner these days with most of the budget going to the containment engineers at Yellowstone. Anyway, our research outposts from Capiz, Leyte, Cavite, and Davao have been shut down by the committee, and they're getting serious about threatening us if we continue these unsupervised projects. I will be bringing with me all of the research data we've gathered, and an additional convoy for some juvenile specimens and containment tools. Regards, Researcher Ray, January 27, 1597. Auxiliary Document 5201-03 Conducting Research on Tribal SCP-5201 Communities. October 15, 1709. Senior Researcher Albion Green. Abstract. Background. When conducting research with SCP-5201 tribes, formal consent from the Supernatural Committee of the Philippines beyond the Conventional Institutional Review Board review is strictly needed for the potential adverse consequences at a community or governmental level that are unrecognized by Foundation researchers. Objectives. In this article, we review sovereignty, research ethics, and data sharing considerations when doing community-based participatory health-related or natural resource-related research with SCP-5201 tribes, and present a model material and data sharing agreement that meets the Supernatural Committee of the Philippines requirements. Discussion. Only the local communities themselves can identify potential adverse outcomes, and they can do this only if they understand the assumptions and methods of the proposed research. Tribes must be truly equal partners in study design, data collection, interpretation, and publication. Advances in the protection of intellectual property rights, IPR, are also applicable to IRB reviews, as are principles of sovereignty and indigenous rights, all of which affect data ownership and control. Conclusions. Foundation researchers engaged in Tribal 5201 projects should become familiar with all three areas: sovereignty, ethics, and informed consent, and IPR. We recommend developing an agreement with tribal partners that reflects both health-related IRB and natural resource-related IPR considerations. Introduction. Level 3 clearance required. Auxiliary Document 5201-04, SCP-5201 Species Profile. October 15, 1889. Site 144, parabiologist Natalie Ferranculo. The Species Profile. The Species Profile is a document that provides the information that the SCP Foundation requires to assess the risk of importing the species into the United States. The Species Profile must demonstrate the scientific validity of the information by referencing published and peer-reviewed scientific literature. Where information in the scientific literature is lacking or uncertain, this should also be noted. The information required is listed below. Summary. Homo sapiens visceralis is an anomalous and endemic subhuman species discovered within the Philippine archipelago. The species can be mostly found within Capiz on the Visayas region, where 78 tribal communities recorded. Settlements of the species can be found mostly across all of the major cities of the Philippines, either co-inhabiting with the Filipino people or as the widely accepted coverts, according to the Supernatural Committee of the Philippines. The potential consequences of the species overseas and its ecological impact is mostly only posing as a strong invasive species, primarily due to its high reproductive, regenerative, and carnivorous nature and imminent preference to human infants as a source of nutrition. As of the moment, the likelihood of the species establishing in the United States may be high, so precautions are highly needed to prevent any potential outbreak. Name and taxonomy. Level 3 clearance required. Between the late 1900s and early 2000s, outbreaks of SCP-5201 were reported all across the Philippines. Due to the risks of SCP-5201 reaching out to nearby countries and becoming an invasive species, a joint operation was formed between the Supernatural Committee of the Philippines, the Global Occult Coalition, and the SCP Foundation to exterminate SCP-5201 instances in the wild and permanently erase the species from public history. Later named Project Dipsy, the operation involved amnesticizing the major cities and towns of the country, funding various media and propaganda about SCP-5201 as a product of folklore and urban legends, and eventually domesticating the remaining populations that survived for cellular regeneration research. Auxiliary Document 5201-05. Email to Director Blackwood. Date: August 12, 2019. From Light Alcatraz. To Ralph Blackwood. Security. Floxy Encryption, LETA. Subject. 5201 Report 778. Message Body. Director Blackwood. It seems that we've been right all along. SCP-5201 never went extinct in the wild, and we weren't the only ones that domesticated them. According to my sources from the GOC, a large number of Philippine syndicates are now utilizing SCP-5201 for foreign flesh trades and human trafficking. Specifically, they've been abducting girls and converting them into instances of SCP-5201. A few weeks ago, messengers from the Supernatural Committee reported on an incident involving the Tatlong Kahoy Syndicate, a political dynasty group known for trading in anomalous endemic organisms from the Philippines to countries like Russia and China. It seems the GOC has already taken action. They've been shutting down the larger conversion camps and warehouses and terminating all SCP-5201 instances involved. The committee managed to rescue a few hundred children that are still halfway from the conversion, and they'll be sending them to us in the hopes that we'll be able to help these girls. We're requesting backup from MTF Theta 4 in case these start getting out of hand. We all know that when the GOC is involved, it's always bad news. Talk to you soon. Light. I think the best part about an article like this is that it's based in, real cultural folklore. The Manananggal are a real thing within the Philippines. Well, not real, but more like, a scary story to tell the kids, right? This article was written by Kanoma from the SCP Wiki. You can view a link to the article in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like. It really does help me get out there. And as always, I hope you have a nice day.